Hey everyone, it's late at night and I am Norman. Tonight I would like to discuss a serious topic, and that is taking care of our watches. Watches are so amazing. They have the potential to outlast us. They can be heirlooms passed down from generation to generation. But if we want our watches to last, it's up to us to take care of them and to protect them from harm. Tonight I want to go over 5 things that you should never, ever do to your watches. This list is far from comprehensive. I just wanted to get the most important ones out there first. Maybe in the future I'll do other videos covering other safety tips as well. If you've been collecting watches for a while, chances are you're aware of all of these items, and you're actively avoiding them already. If you're new to watch collecting, you might be putting your watch at risk without even realizing it. So let's get going through 5 things you should never do to your watches. Number 1, don't put your watches in the dishwasher. The soaps used in dishwashers is very harsh, and the temperatures within it are pretty extreme. Most dishwashers will operate at a temperature of about 120 to 150 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you have dress watches, these usually don't have a water resistance that can handle all of the water that is within dishwashers. So, when you're done eating and you need to get the food off of your watch, my suggestion would be to use a damp cloth. Or if your watches have enough water resistance, you can use water and find some watch-safe soap, something that's not going to damage the gaskets in the watch. I actually know some people who use soft bristled toothbrushes to get the crumbs and dried sauce out of the intricate little parts of the watches. Number 2, don't throw your watches on the ground. First off, when they hit the floor, you could damage their case. And secondly, especially with mechanical watches, remember that inside of them are small, round, pokey things, lots of them, and they're doing stuff like all the time. And a harsh impact is really bad for them and can actually make them go the wrong way. Also remember, sapphire crystal will shatter if it's impacted hard enough. Now if you have an acrylic crystal, you're fine. Remember, this is exactly why they went with acrylic on the Speedmaster, so that while they're in the spaceship, throwing their watches around, they aren't creating sapphire shards that'll be floating everywhere. So my suggestion is, when you get mad, throw something else. But remember that whatever you do throw, it could get damaged as well. So like my wife always says to me, make good choices. Number 3, don't use your watches as coasters. I realize how important it is to protect the surfaces of your tables, and I realize that there's never a coaster around when you need one. Furthermore, I know that some of you out there have large Bauhaus watches that look like coasters, but trust me, they're not. Your watches belong on your wrist, not under your coffee. So my suggestion is to buy a nice set of coasters. That way you have some that you can use, but use them correctly. Don't use them as plates, they're way too small, and your food will just fall right off of them. I've added a link in the description to a couple coasters that I personally love. In fact, I added a link. Buy 20 sets of coasters, or 30 even. That way you can put them in stacks all throughout your house, and you always have a coaster handy when you need one. Number 4. Don't give your watches to your dogs as chew toys. I realize that chew toys are expensive, but amazingly enough, watches are even more expensive. And dogs are really good at chewing things. And their bite force is greater than that of a human's. An average human bite force is between 101 and 174 psi. The average dog's is between 230 and 250 psi, with some breeds capable of achieving over 700 psi. All that to say, it's likely your watch is going to get destroyed or swallowed, which means you could retrieve it on the other end, so all hope is not lost. My suggestion is to give your dogs one of your shoes or a handful of socks. Most people already have these items in their home, so you don't have to spend any money. And last, number 5, don't put your watches in fire. Most people don't realize it, but fire is pretty warm. A typical wood fire burns at 1800 degrees Fahrenheit. If you have a leather band, it could get burned. If you have an acrylic crystal, it might warp or even melt. Watches don't like being that warm. I get it. When you first put your watches on, they're cold. My suggestion is to hold your watch in your hands for a few minutes before you put it on. Now, when you do this, you're likely to smudge the crystal with fingerprints, so it's a good idea to take a microfiber cloth and clean the crystal off there. Now, even if you have a sheet handy, don't use sandpaper. Trust me, sapphire or not, the microfiber will get it cleaner than the sandpaper will. So there you have it. 5 things you should never do to your watches. Hopefully these tips were helpful, and if so, share this with your friends, family, or even your enemies. But maybe not that one guy who has a collection that's 100% G-Shocks. Because seriously, you could do anything you want to a G-Shock and it's fine. So there's really no point. Oh, also, maybe don't share this with people who have smart watches either, because those are not watches by any stretch of the imagination. So their safety tips would be completely different than these. So these tips are pointless to them. Alright, thanks for watching.